What if I tell you that the reason you're struggling to communicate with non-tech people is because you know too much? That's right. When you know too much about a topic, you don't know what it's like to not know what you know. This is called the curse of knowledge. People will get lost when you use words that are alien to them. This causes discussions to go around and round in circles without any solid action steps. But don't worry, you can overcome this. The best way to combat the curse of knowledge is to avoid jargon. But how can you explain complex tech topics without using any jargon? After combining my own experience with some research, I've come up with a framework that's so easy that even introverts can use it. I call this the ABS framework. By using ABS, you're able to easily explain to anyone about existing or new tech innovations like AI, what problems that piece of tech can solve, and how will that tech truly benefit them. So the best way to explain the A in ABS is by sharing my own story. This is one time where I had to convince my CEO to feature freeze our product. Basically, stop building new features for an entire year. We were in the midst of merging our apps, and if we were to add any new features, it will greatly increase the complexity and slow down the entire process. Getting approval for a big decision like this requires that the audience first understand the gravity of the problem. And therein lies the challenge. What's the best way to explain the complexity of merging our apps? Well, my first attempt was to literally say it as it is. I worked with my lead engineer and designer to compile all the facts, and I presented the complexity by explaining each problem, which was followed by a solution. I highlighted these main points. Incompatible code between both apps, that's the language and architecture, which means we need to rewrite code as we merge each feature. An existing UI won't work in a super app context. This leads to our need to redesign most of our UI and flows. Also, we've only been working with outsourced developers. This means we need to allocate some time after the merger to transition to in-house development once the team is assembled. This sounds clear, right? Nope. The CEO insisted that we build new features even during app merger. For non-tech people, in their minds, they're thinking, hey, it's just copy-pasting code, right? How hard can it be? But that's when I tried a different approach. I explained that merging apps are like organ transplant, which means we need to ensure compatibility between the donor and receiver, which relates to code compatibility. We also need to stop consuming food and water before surgery, which means we need to stop adding new features. And then we need to recover post-surgery, which means we need time to stabilize code as we onboard new hires. And just like in any surgery, there might be complications and it might take longer than expected. And in just 60 seconds, the CEO was fully engaged and said, okay, now I get what you guys have been trying to tell me. What do you suggest we do? What I did there was that I used an analogy. Analogies are powerful because they allow the brain to translate complex ideas by comparing it with familiar everyday things. This means that the audience doesn't need to have the same level of knowledge as you, the expert. The brain can visualize complex ideas and process information much faster. The simplicity of the information allows the brain to retain and remember the information much longer. So yeah, the A in ABS stands for analogy. Now let's move on to the B in ABS. I want you to think about your phone for a second. If I ask you to list down the exact specs of your phone in exact detail, can you do it? As for me, I don't remember that my iPhone 13 Pro has a 6.1-inch diagonal all-screen OLED display with 2532 by 1170 pixel resolution at 460 ppi, a cinematic mode for recording videos with shallow depth of field in 1080p at 30 fps, a 12 megapixel camera system that includes telephoto, wide, ultra-wide cameras. And the list goes on and on. I had to refer to the website for all that, by the way. And in fact, these specs are listed in the secondary page instead of the first page. So it's not as important, right? But if I ask you, why did you buy your phone? That's an easier question to answer. For me, I would say, I wanted to easily pick the best moments within a single photo instead of taking lots of photos. The live photo feature in an iPhone allows me to do that. I wanted a second camera that's good enough to shoot YouTube videos with, and I was frustrated that some of my Android apps were not as optimized. You see, as tech professionals, sometimes we get too caught up with the features or the specs. The thing is, people don't care about features. They care more about how something will benefit their lives. When explaining a solution to non-tech people, focus more on benefits over features. I know this can be quite challenging at first, but here's a hack to help you uncover the benefits of your features. Ask yourself, so what? Here's a few examples. The first iPod has a 5 GB hard drive with a click wheel navigation. So what? Well, it can store 1,000 songs, so you can carry your entire music library in your pocket. You can easily and quickly scroll through your music library as well. Slack is an instant messaging app that allows teams to communicate via text messages, video, and audio huddles. So what? Well, it's faster than email and messages are better organized via threads. It gives teams a more efficient and productive way to stay in sync. Okay, what about Canva? It's an online design tool pre-made with templates and layouts. So what? Well, you can save money by creating graphics yourself instead of hiring a graphic designer. And no design experience is necessary. As you can see, the B in ABS stands for benefits over features. By the way, if you want to become a compelling communicator, check out Storyteller's Code Swipe file. It's a collection of the best examples of storytelling across different types of content that you can easily refer to. Link in the description below. It's a powerful communication technique that's been hiding in plain sight. You've been using it all this while during casual conversations inside and outside of work. This technique is so powerful, it has been responsible for buying things that you don't need, raising billions of dollars in funds, making people feel inspired, and even starting wars and conflict. I'm talking about storytelling. Yes, I know storytelling is a complex topic with different frameworks and applications for different situations, but let's focus on practicality here. What's one easy way for you to use storytelling to explain complex tech topics to non-tech people? Well, you can use example stories to trigger emotions and imagination. But first, I want to show you what happens if I don't use example stories. Here's me explaining the concept of SEO. Search engine optimization is going to help you get more visitors to your website. Okay, so now I'm going to use an example story to explain that same concept. Imagine you're a small business owner and you need more clients to book your services. You tried creating blog articles to showcase your expertise, but you struggled to get readers. Then my team showed you how to implement search engine optimization, or SEO. After making the SEO changes, your blog articles started to appear higher in Google search results, which made it easier for your potential clients to find them. See the difference there? Example stories work because you can tap into people's emotions since they can relate to the story. They're able to visualize the person struggling through their scenario and how a new tech solution can help them. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh no, it's so difficult to come up with example stories. I'm not a charismatic introvert who can just wing it. I'm also not a professional writer. Don't worry. I've come up with a framework for you to sort out your thoughts and create your own example stories in just 4 simple steps. The first part is the setup. This is where you introduce the character and their desire. Then, describe the obstacle. What's stopping them from getting what they want? What's their current approach and why isn't it working? Next comes the resolution. A guide or product comes into the picture and introduces the solution. Finally, wrap it up with the transformation. What's the change that happens after implementing the solution? So in a nutshell, it's setup, obstacle, resolution, transformation. I guess I'm going to call this the SORT framework since it helps you to sort out your thoughts when crafting an example story. Sorry. So by using apps, you can replace jargon with analogies, benefits, and stories that can easily help you explain complex technical topics to non-tech people. But having said that, how do you apply this into your presentation slides? Well, watch this next to see the presentation slides that help my CEO understand the complexity of app merger in just 60 seconds.